Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on the video. We are going to be creating a Ruthless Aggression Era Universe mode. Now the screen is moving pretty quickly, but don't worry about that. All I'm doing now is I'm going to delete NXT and I'm going to start deleting my current roster for both Raw and SmackDown. We're going to go ahead and switch today's Raw with the Raw of the early 2000s. I'm going to pick the 2002 Raw arena because that is when theoretically the Ruthless Aggression Era started. You can pick the 2005 arena if you want. If you have another Raw arena that you downloaded from the community creations, go ahead and pick that one. The best thing about having these two Raw arenas, the 02 and 05, is it leaves me room to download more arenas. I'm not taking up any space. So the biggest benefit of the Ruthless Aggression Era is we had a ton of wrestlers. The one disadvantage is that there's a ton of wrestlers. I felt the best thing for me to do was, just like the Attitude Era Universe mode, was to create the roster from a video game. So I did the No Mercy for Attitude Era, and in this one I'm going to try my best to recreate the roster of the original Here Comes the Pain video game. And even though I am basing it off of that, you are still going to see that I have plenty of wrestlers from the mid-2000s and maybe a SmackDown versus Raw game. If you want to copy it verbatim, go ahead. If not, and you want to mix it up just like I'm doing here, I think that's best because it increases the variety you have on who you play as well as giving you the options of creating some dream matches that you would have loved to see, but unfortunately your favorite wrestlers either got hurt, retired, or fired. So as you see, whenever I'm recreating my very first show, I put everybody on that show. This ensures that I know how many wrestlers I have to deal with. Typically, I like having about 20 to 25 wrestlers for each show, so it's easier for me to set up my divisions, and when I do set up my match table, I get the matches I want without having to go in and create them myself. Moving on to the championships, they're pretty easy to get started. I know who I want. I prefer heels to start as my champions, that way I have a story to tell. Don't be afraid to have different titles for the shows that I have here. Eventually the World Heavyweight title will move over to SmackDown, and I most likely will end up switching the Undisputed title with the Spinner title once John Cena wins that somewhere down the line in my universe mode. The Big Gold title is my favorite, and I think it does make sense to have Triple H wear it first in this universe mode. Maybe somewhere down the line Undertaker would win that off of him at a pay-per-view, or maybe I just get bored and have Santino Marella win it. Who knows? Creating your SmackDown is the same premise as creating Raw, just different arenas. If you want to have different names, if you want to have a different title selection, go right ahead. Maybe when you're creating your shows, you have an idea that you want to split up the years. So most notably, SmackDown probably started their prime with the mid-2000s where we had Undertaker, Mr. Kennedy, MVP came along, we had Crime Time. John Cena was coming up in the ranks, JBL was Undisputed Champion, Booker T was there before he became King Booker, even after he became King Booker. And maybe with my Raw, I kind of keep it where the NWO returned. We still had Stone Cold, The Rock with Goldberg rivalry. These are just some ideas since the Ruthless Aggression Era spanned for over half a decade, and you do have a lot of wrestlers to add on to your show. So with both Raw and SmackDown set up for the most part, minus the tag teams and the actual championships, I think it's a good time to go ahead and add another show. Since I have over 80 wrestlers and not enough spots on 2 shows, we're going to make Velocity. It really does not matter what day of the week you select it. It's all up to you. I am going to put it on Wednesday though. It's right in the middle. It's not going to interfere with anything. When adding a third show, if you do make it a minor show, you might have to go in and individually click on or off the minor show appearances on each wrestler. Or if you just make it a major show and create a different roster for it, not only will it save time, but it would probably reduce the chance of a headache. The most annoying part when creating a show, whether it's Velocity or a different pay-per-view, is actually picking out the screen designs. But since Velocity's main color is green, we do have plenty of options to pick from. And don't forget when you're setting up your images that if you download a custom arena, more than likely you're going to get a custom image for that show. So you don't have to use the default ones that 2K gives us. But fortunately, the Velocity logo is already into the game, so we're just going to go ahead and use that one. It definitely gives it a more immersive look and it makes it look a little nicer versus having to put just the WWE logo on there. So we have Velocity created. Now it's time to create our roster. I do have 2 different options if you're unsure of who to put on it. First option is, let's say you have too many male wrestlers for both Raw and SmackDown. You could make it an all-women show. This could guarantee that you actually end up playing as every women's wrestler that you have downloaded. This can also open up a door to maybe setting up their own pay-per-views. If you have more women wrestlers downloaded than I do, then I do think this makes sense. You could download or create a custom women's title. You can download or create a women's intercontinental title, a women's US title. You can incorporate the women's tag titles in this. Again, I'm not saying you have to do this. This is just an idea in case you have too many wrestlers and you want to have everyone on their rosters, but you might not be able to fit them. Or try this. You could turn Velocity into an earlier version of 205 Live. I always enjoyed the idea of having a light heavyweight and a cruiserweight title, and too many wrestlers in those divisions didn't get enough credit, and they were always fun to watch. Not only will this help break up the rosters for each show, but this means I can add more titles to the main shows Raw and SmackDown without having to sacrifice one for the other. Next, I'm going to give you a few examples of the rivalries I have for my shows. This is an important step, either before or after you set up your match table, it doesn't matter. Either way, don't forget to do this or else you're going to get bad matchups and you're going to spend too much time editing and recreating matches versus just going in and playing them. When I created these rivalries, I did it after I set up my match table. If you're familiar with the Attitude Era Universe mode setup, I just copied them the same way I did then. With these saved, let's go see how the computer refreshed SmackDown for us. So for my first SmackDown episode, I think the computer did a great job with setting up these matches. You'll see that I still have some wrestlers that I have on Velocity when I'm making that my third show. I have yet to go in and delete them from SmackDown and Raw's roster, but I am going to ignore that because I'm actually surprised at how well this card looks, which is why it is very important to set up your rivalries, your match table, and your divisions, and you can get cards like this every single time. Before we finish up, I am going to go over the calendar for my pay-per-views. I went online and just looked up a specific year for the pay-per-view list. I will link that in the description. When you do set up your pay-per-views, remember to use the logos and screens and transition screens that 2K gave us with the John Cena 2K showcase. For the ones that don't have it and you have to download the arenas, the most important part there is just kind of matching up the colors with the arenas. So for Judgment Day, it's kind of an orange, yellow, red vibe. So when selecting a match screen or a replay screen design, just try to pick the colors that match the arena best. So the last thing that I do want to go over with you are your tag teams. Now I kind of just picked my favorite ones from the Ruthless Aggression. You may have some that you're thinking, why didn't I add them? Go ahead and add them yourself. It's your universe mode. You're probably thinking, why are Goldberg and Santino Marella a tag team for 3 years? I don't know. The computer did that and I'm looking at it and I kind of like it, so I'm going to keep it. Maybe if you bring back the NWO, you don't have the original 3. Maybe you have Shawn Michaels, Booker T, and Big Show in there. It's all up to you. Before I let you go, I do want to say thank you for watching this video. I hope it is helpful. Maybe you weren't sure which route to go with setting up your Ruthless Aggression Era Universe mode. If I helped you, leave a like and subscribe.